military court has sentenced 6 senior officers and 2 civilians to death for spying for foreign governments. Libya's state-run television said they'd passed defense secrets to agents of countries which weren't specified using equipment supplied by the American CIA. 6 will be shot and 2 hanged. It's not clear whether they'll be allowed to appeal. 8 other men were acquitted.
The success or failure of the annual Christmas anti-drink drive campaign will be known later today. Details of the numbers of drunk drivers caught during the festive season will be announced by the Association of Chief Police Officers.
It's been the most intensive campaign so far, with almost anyone stopped for speeding or even faulty lights finding themselves blowing into a tube. Most have escaped with a ticking off, but those who triggered a red light will lose their licenses by the end of the month. Given the cold weather, it seems likely the number of drunk drivers caught this season will show another fall. For Transport Department officials, the big question is how much is due to ice and snow and how much to its publicity campaign. It spends millions of pounds annually on TV commercials, but they don't always work. In 1993, Christmas pudding won critical acclaim for its image of the pudding becoming a burning car. But that same year, drink driving was up. 4,470 people were arrested. The following year's message was that even great blokes can kill. It was low-key, and so were the results. The number of drunk drivers caught rose slightly to 4,700, though there were many more tests. Last year's campaign featured a young driver paralyzed for life because he'd had just one more drink. It upset many disabled people, but the number of positive tests fell to 4,300. This year's commercial has a drunk driver's disfigured girlfriend trying to hide her scars. This afternoon we'll know if it's worked. The police seem hopeful.
In the local area we work, we found people are heeding the message. There do appear to be fewer people drinking and driving. However, in the county of Essex we breathalyzed up to the 18th of December 3,500 people, of which 80 were positive. Now that's obviously too many people still are not heeding the message and are drinking and driving.
Whatever the results, they'll probably mark the end of Britain's present limit of 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 millilitres of blood. The Association of Chief Police Officers wants that limit cut to 50, and it's likely the law will be changed after the general election. Christopher Wayne, BBC News.
And after that, how happy are we as a nation? Well, a report out today suggests that true happiness resides in Iceland. The average person there enjoys 62 years of happiness in a lifetime, according to researchers at Erasmus University in Rotterdam. Britain doesn't lag too far behind, scoring an average 58 happy years per person, on a par with the United States. But the most miserable place in the world apparently is Bulgaria, where joy is confined to 32 years per person.
I don't think is bad going at all, really, 32 years. Now to a man who's enjoyed many years of happiness over his long career, Paul Burden.
Yes, absolutely hysterical. Let's turn to the market news around the world. Not a lot of market activity yesterday because, of course, it was the new year, but trading restarted on the Hong Kong stock market this morning. Dealings there have been unsettled by weakness in Wall Street pre the new year. On Tuesday, the last day of trading of the old year, the Dow Jones dropped by about 100 points. And there you can see it now. The Hang Seng opened 200 points lower, and at this very moment it's down 164.5 points at 13,287. Let me turn now to what has been happening on the currencies by telling you incidentally that Japan's exchanges don't open again until Monday. Elsewhere there in the Far East, the dollar is moving in a fairly narrow range. As you can see there, absolutely level against the Deutschmark, 153.9. Against the yen, hardly moved, just below the 116 level. Sterling, which rose to 4-year highs against both the dollar and the mark on Tuesday, this morning staying pretty much where it was against the Deutschmark, just below 264. And above that 170 level, well above it against the dollar, 171. Good moment for anyone planning to go to Florida. And finally, let me tell you that one thing that has been benefiting from the bad weather has been the price of oil. It's been looking pretty firm at this moment. This is Brent crude for January, delivered a benchmark figure, $24.08 a barrel. That's the market news for the moment. Now back to Andrew.
Paul, thanks very much. Not much joy at the moment for people in Tuscany because the romantic scenery of the Italian province, immortalised by the great Renaissance painters, is now under threat from the developers, according to conservationists. In the wine-growing region of Chianti, planners hope to bring in more wealth with a huge industrial estate in one of its valleys. British expatriates are amongst those leading a campaign against the scheme.
The Chianti countryside of Tuscany, celebrated by the great Renaissance painters of Siena and Florence. With its traditional agriculture of vineyards and olive groves, the scenery's remained unchanged for centuries. Unchanged until recently. This blot on the landscape cost £1 million and will never be used. The local authorities say they can't afford to demolish it either. Medieval castles still stand guard over Chianti's hilltop settlements, but on closer inspection, the neighbouring silhouette turns out to be a pig processing factory, slap in the middle of a picturesque village and now blamed for local rat infestation and dust pollution. The long-established expatriate English are now organising a campaign to stop an industrial estate in the heart of Chianti.
This little valley contains within itself a lot of the examples of bad decisions which have been made recently. This tower was built in the 15th century to protect the Florentines against the Sienese, who were on the other side of the valley over there. The plan is to take this valley and pour over it 400,000 cubic meters of poured concrete.
A computer simulation predicts the likely impact of the plan put forward by the town council of Radda in Chianti. Council officials say they're trying to move industry out of old towns into concentrated zones. Criticism from foreigners is resented.
Chianti isn't a museum or some kind of zoo with people walking about in 19th century costumes. This has actually been a poor region, and we have to develop.
But the machinations of local government in Tuscany also have high-profile Italian critics.
This is exactly what I was mentioning before, what we call le crete senesi.
Director Bernardo Bertolucci's latest film celebrates the Tuscan landscape. He's appalled at the local council's plans.
Italy has been kind of massacred. It's incredible how much concrete has been put there. This is just the very heavy hand of speculation, which has no kind of memory, memory for what is the importance of the place. I mean, if you have a treasure, you better keep it and save it and protect it.
At the Lacca kitchen furniture factory in Radda, the family firm which has most to gain from the opportunity of new industrial zones provided by the plan, the whole issue is viewed differently.
If you don't expand nowadays, which is not an opinion, I think, but something which is proven by market and by economists and so on, and if you don't expand, you are going to die. So it's a matter of survival nowadays.
Building for tourists is another inexorable pressure. Some councils promote agriturismo, restoring old buildings for visitors. But here the sign promises the comfort of the city, life in the country, but with all mod cons.
It's a kind of touristic area, and many people from outside want to live in that area. So there are like two kinds of needs. A kind of need for the local people and another kind of need for the touristic.
From her home in Florence, Sara Barni has formed a pressure group to defend the region and collect sympathetic signatures from around the world. She says it's her fellow Italians who need a new mentality.
Italian people identified beauty and old things, old building with poverty. And they was attractive to modern things because they identified modern with rich.
In theory, Italy has laws protecting this historic region. No new building near rivers or ancient hamlets.
But in practice, the siting of new schemes is in the hands of local councils, whose rivalries can be exploited by speculators. Campaigners, some of whom are protecting their own private paradise, say what's needed is a Chianti Heritage Authority to safeguard its beauty for the future.
Chianti's best chances of a prosperous new year, it's argued, lie not in winning European development grants for new building, but in preserving as much of its existing beauty as possible. Andrew Burrows, BBC News.
And things not looking so tranquil on the weather front over here.